So welcome to Strangford Lock, a little place called Island Hill. The tide has gone out, otherwise I'd be underwater. But it's a gorgeous day. And it's not raining, which is a little bit unusual. So I'm reading Unspoken Journeys by Tom Ellison, which is an interesting read. That's why I've chosen it. So enjoy. The first chapter, called Laying the Foundations. The once-a-year fortnight holidays I remember as a boy were unforgettable in so many ways. No one doubts that childhood experiences shape the person you become, and for me, those that surrounded a holiday lay the foundations for what I would later seek as an adult. Looking back, this was never just a break from school or the monotony of life. It was an experience which lasted me a whole year's worth of memories. While it could have been different for others in my family, for me the holiday didn't start when we arrived at our destination. It began days and weeks before. I have vivid memories of preparations till this day where it seemed both my mother and father had separate checklists. For Dad, it was to make sure that all the sheds were secure and that anything valuable or potentially dangerous would be put indoors. The day before, I can distinctly remember helping to drag most of the contents of the shed over the back doorstep, including lawnmowers, mopeds, bicycles, cans of petrol and any outdoor toys, as I have no recollection of Mum having any kind of list. I assume it would have simply been the contents of the cases. The night before or early in the morning, the water and electricity would be turned off at the mains, and all the sheds would be locked with at least one padlock. My dad would pack the car the night before, leaving it on the lay-by outside. A Morris Minor has next to no boot, so the cases had to go on a roof rack, which were covered in a plastic sheet to protect it from the elements. These were then left outside until we rejoined them at around 3:30 in the morning. Pre-M25, I think the early start was mainly to get through central London before the morning traffic took hold. As a child, getting up while everyone was still asleep and tiptoeing out to a car on the lay-by outside felt like we were on a secret mission. Every year was the same. We had our orders, which were to rendezvous with the car without waking up the neighbours, although I sincerely doubt that ever happened. It was understandable that Dad didn't want to advertise that the house would be empty for the next 2 weeks, so to reduce the risk of burglary, he would shout in a whisper half a dozen times or so, "Be quiet!" Even now, certain parts of the journey remain in my memories. Feeling so tired and trying to sleep while listening to what must have been Radio 4 or World Service. Try as we may, we felt we could never keep our eyes closed through London with all its sights. Everything seemed to glisten and sparkle. So much traffic, so many lanes, so many lights. At around 8 a.m. or so, we stopped in what seemed to be the same place every year, just south of London, for a sandwich and a cup of rotten flask tea. Then at last, the final memory that has been the same up until just a few years ago, if I was honest, seeing the sea. We lived at least 3 hours away from the sea, although back in the 70s, it was more like 6 hours. But this once-a-year experience was worth the wait. When we saw the mass expanse of blue shimmering water in the sun, it really did take our breath away. And all we did was gaze at it and wonder. As I became older and had a family of my own, a group or family holiday lost much of the buzz I'd experienced as a boy. Modern travel may have a lot to do with that, and the fact that my wife never allowed us to leave at 3 a.m. This isn't because they lack excitement, quite the opposite. I work hard all year knowing that a holiday is my reward. As an adult, there has to be planning, detailed planning, which means knowing exactly how we'll get to the destination, and often exactly what we'll do when we arrive. This in itself is no bad thing. Lack of organisation on a family holiday is a recipe for wasting time, or worse. Whatever the holiday experience, I will always do my utmost to achieve maximum fulfillment, happiness, and memories that last a lifetime. Although, while giving my all to a family break, there is part of me that has continued to hunger for the freedom and recklessness of youth. Unfortunately, for the time being at least, the feelings leading up to and during a family holiday are not the same as those I have experienced alone. Without meaning to, some years before being married, I had made a discovery which changed everything. For many years now, any normal holiday excitement and experience has been relegated to second place. My journeys of discovery were about doing the unusual and experiencing what few people ever do. I will do my best to explain. There are only a handful of people in the world who have made it to the top of Mount Everest. The few that have, one would think, are able to sit at the top, even just for a few minutes, and realise how privileged they are to be in that place. My discovery has quite often left me with similar feelings, and perhaps because of the sand and sea, I have also dared to include paradise as a description. This book not only recounts journeys and experiences, but also has caused me to uncover my motivations. It is more than tales of journeys or locations in themselves. Instead, it is about why they have left such an impression. Then comes the difficult part to it all. I have rarely, if ever, been able to talk about my experiences, this being for no other reason than it may be seen as unusual and different. From my teens, I have considered myself an extrovert in terms of seeking new experiences and someone who would openly talk about them. However, as privileged an individual I have felt on my encounters, what people think has stopped me in my tracks. Therefore, I find myself with two choices. I never recall my journeys and experiences and hide them forever, or I choose to let them loose in the pages that lie ahead. That was the end of chapter 1. Let's have this gorgeous little spot.